Okay. If there was anybody here for the unfortunate last second of switching, like the first 30 seconds of the stream, switching panels, you are part of a secret club. But anyway, what's up, Ashy Tizra? Okay, longer name than I need to read. Let me see. I gotta fix my freaking Streamlabs bar. There we go. What's up, Nur? How's it going? How you guys doing? Figured I would start a little early. I'm on time this week, and I actually get to do it this time, and I'm hyped. I'm still. It was still really funny when I missed the timing for what was it, chapter 100, and then unfortunately I didn't get to do a live stream for last week's chapter, but I'm hyped for this week's chapter, and I want to know what's going to go on with Misaki and Urza. They seem way closer than Kirin and Laxus, but we know that Kirin is the contender for the strongest out of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights. I imagine the only person that was stronger than him was Georg in his guild. Oh no, the chapter isn't out yet. The chapter shouldn't be out for another 24 minutes or so, and then at that point it will be released and I will react live to the contents of it. So I just gotta wait a little bit longer and see what goes down. Actually, I haven't even really looked at the Eden Zero spoilers this week, now that I think about it. So I'm gonna look at the Eden Zero chapter probably too, and I'll do that, and then the Four Knights chapter at the end of the stream, just additional, just something kind of extra. So I still need to do, do one of my videos that was a Duran. I have my Black Clover one. I'll put that out today. I was starting to catch up, and then I got busy yesterday. I got looped into Elden Ring and didn't realize how much I played. So I'm trying to get a bunch of videos out rather before I get back to that. Worst part about my neck is it's Polish language. What? Oh, it means Ashi is not time. Wait, this time not Zura because I already Ashi's already. I'm so confused. What's going on? Can you guys hear this? I moved, so I moved homes, and because of my new setup, next to my desk I have this kind of big window, and it has a whole kind of shelving setup next to it, like this whole kind of just this big open area, and I put one of my cat scratching things there for him because cats are hang out there all the time. I don't know if it's too loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Tartaros was stretching his claws. Stop. He's just mad at my dogs right now. I don't know why. We're not doing anything. He's just angry. Tartaros, stop. You're my only fairy tale named pet, and here you are being an asshole during a fairy tale stream. We can't be doing this. Okay, yeah, it should be out in about 20 minutes, and I'm hoping that the fight is still in Misaki's favor, but it's not like Urza is just getting ran over. I don't really want that to happen, because I like that they have a fairly close setup right now. And Urza got stronger from being an Ellen tier, as did everybody else, so that just makes, the alignment of, obviously she's going to be stronger than when she fought Laxus, so she should be at a better spot to fight Misaki. And when, was it Gray? I can't remember if it was Gray or Gagio. I think it was Gray, compared it to Laxus and Gildarts. It's that comparative is really good, because there is it's the idea of Natsu fighting Gildarts. We know that Natsu would Dragon Force, not talking about Dragon Force, but the general stages of Natsu versus him, there's a fight there, whereas Laxus and Gildarts, we know there's a gap, there's still a fight there. So even though Urza's in a bad spot, she is still getting a fight in. Misaki wasn't really trying too hard. I think obviously once we get to this chapter, she's gonna have a general better showing of her own capabilities, because she was just using what is, I would imagine, her most basic attack, her most basic Dragon Slayer technique, And it's kind of weird that they don't name their, like, they don't name their attacks the same way as, like, the, normal Dragon Slayers. I wonder why that is. Because, I wonder if Georg just maybe did, like, set them up differently, because the other Dragon Slayers were, using, whatever their attribute is, attacks. We've seen that with everybody. Except for some of them, like Skolnion has Black Ash. So, I don't really know entirely what's up with that. Like, we haven't seen any of them use their thing as, like, a said Dragon Slayer move. We have, the closest we have is Suzaku, but we'll see. I mean, I don't imagine they're done, so, we're going to have a lot of them. I mean, even Haku, I assume Haku's going to get up. I really don't think, based off the setup, that if a character is unconscious or out of the fight for a certain period, like at one point, that they can't just come back. Because we already saw that with Natsu and Lucy were counted out at one point and were able to come back once they were able to fight again. So, and these are Dragon Slayers. These are literally the most combat wizard setup of the whole series. They're gonna get back up, especially with Skolnion. There should be, I mean, Mad Mole too. Both of them really, because we know that there's so many people that died inside the labyrinth, so there should be skeletons and armor, I would imagine, somewhere around there. So they should be able to find neat stuff. With Skolnion though, like, if he eats stuff, is his armor going to heal? Is that part of his Dragon Slayer stuff? Like, I get both of theirs to a degree, but Skolnion's I think makes more sense because it's bone, so he would be able to just manipulate his attribute and fix it, I would assume. That just makes sense. Or are we going to see him without his helmet? I worry about that. I really hope he doesn't look goofy. I hope he looks really cool, because, like, he's a character that I've always really liked, and Mishima hasn't done too much with him. Like, he was hyped at the start, and then we just haven't really seen anything from Skolnion at all since, since the point of when he skirmished with Mira Jane. Because we didn't really see him do anything in Elentier, which was really, that was the weirdest part of Elentier to me. Like, when you really look at it, like, what was the point of it being like, oh, we're sending Suzaku with you? Like, Georg's like, I'm going to send Suzaku with you guys to go take care of the Moon Dragon God. And then, it's just, Suzaku's the one that gets just isekai'd over because of, I'm stuck in my throat. I had, like, congestion problems, like, the last, like, 2 months. It's been awful. But, like, he got isekai'd over by the Grand White Priestess, so what were they doing the whole time? I know it's not, like, an important plot point, but it's something I want to know. I want to know what the hell they were doing. Like, they had to be with Suzaku at some point, and then he just vanished. I don't think it was shown in any of, like, the extra stuff, like any of the extra chapters that we've had. Like, when we saw Ferris carrying out the guild members. And, like, obviously she's not physically strong, so it was hard for her. I don't know. It's just something I really think about. What do you expect of the upcoming chapter where Misaki... Misaki versus Kiria. No, Misaki versus Urza. I mean, yeah, that's the logical thing for the chapter. The thing... Like, I would imagine Misaki and Urza ends, and then we're gonna get the next fight. And it's gonna... Like, there's... I don't think we'll get their, like, Igni and Selene yet, just because, like, that has the most hyped part of it, unless Mishima wants to take focus out of this one. Like, if Urza versus Misaki in this chapter is, like, imagine if this chapter, it's, like, half of it is Urza versus Misaki, we then see Gray and Mad Mole go up, like, Skolnion and Mad Mole show up for a page, and then we see Gray and got him. I'm like blanking on, like, spacing on names today. I don't know why. I mean, it's just because, like, I'm hyped for him, but it's like Gajeel and Mad Mole right now have had, like, nothing character existences most of the 100 Years quests, which has hurt me. I mean, Gajeel's got a little bit, but at the same time, that's a little bit when you also combine it with the large gaps of Tartaros and Alvarez. Like, Gajeel does not get enough content, and now we have him in a really good spot, and I think that's one of the things about Mad Mole that I'm really hoping too, because I like Mad Mole, and Mishima factually always really likes the goofier characters. In
Like he has a you know a always existent bias with his goofy character of the group. He's always had that. Look at Mimi. Look at how much how much screen time Mimi got versus Hakune and Yoko. And you can look at like Kane Hikaru. You look at Franma. You look at like the whichever group. He likes to have fun with the goofy guys. And Mad Mole just hasn't had a chance. And you know he had just the short straw with Scoleon of running into Laxus. And again, that just made sense because of the exchange of how strong they are comparatively. So, and we know how Laxus is, so it just made sense that he was just going to run over him. The chapter's not out. We got 15 more minutes. Let me see. Hey Rex, what do you think about Natsu and E&D split personality like Zeref? Well, it's not really a split personality. It's more of like, it's an instinctual code in his brain. And that's why he focuses on one thing. It's something that all the Aetherius have. It's like when you have fish that, you know, they've never been to a stream, but they know where to go to go and breed. They go to the same place, back where their parents were and stuff. They just know in their head, and like there are stuff that just in the brains and the DNA of animals, they just know what to do. And we know from Margear that the whole thing about, you know, Zeref's will and fulfilling Zeref's wish is in their DNA. It's coded into how they operate. And that was why Natsu was so focused on going after Zeref. And then the switch is, at least now, from what we saw with Mercephobia, is he has like this instant kill kind of focus thing of when he goes into that state fighting. I really want to see that form again, but it's like we have to be in a weird spot to see that form. We have to have somebody, like, the way that I could see it happening, like, again, without it being a problem, because the problem with that form obviously is it bodied Mercephobia, but I wonder so bad if I'm ever pronouncing that name right, like Mercephobia, like I wish I had a professional pronounce it at least once so I knew, or like have a full definition of how the fuck his name is pronounced. But it would be like, the danger is like he got bodied, but he had none of his wits. He was just a rampaging animal. So he probably had so many techniques and things he could have done with his abilities that he just didn't, because he didn't have his intelligence and his experience of, you know, centuries old of a dragon god. Is any of them still 1v1, even with their abilities? I imagine he would demolish. I don't think it would be as bad, but they would still be on completely the back foot, like the whole fight. Because it'd be one of those fights where they could win if they do something smart, but they're clearly on like, they're outgunned against this monster. Like, because Natsu didn't handle Mercephobia with, you know, intelligence in that fight. He just ran over him like a truck. So if we have him go into that form again, like, it would have to be somewhere now where we have Selene and Igni in the same place, and they would have to team up to pretty much stop Natsu. Like, it would have to be a really dangerous scenario, because otherwise, like, well, who would stop him? What would the threat be that he'd be in this form? Like, unless we had something where something caused him to be in it and there's no enemy around, and it's just like one of those shows of power, and it's like for a short brief moment Natsu's in this form, and maybe he does one attack and his fire erases like a whole massive like set of land from the horizon, or something like something just in like big endgame scary kind of thing, where it's like put the fear into Natsu, because Natsu was seemed really troubled by the whole fact he had no control in Elmina, and obviously he was going to execute Mercephobia. So, well, I mean, we could see maybe something like that. That, like, the whole setup of that is very strange, like, because we have subplots and whatnot put up. Natsu hasn't had anything really power-wise the same way as the other characters throughout the series. With Suzaku, it was more of Natsu went to fight him in base. Natsu wasn't at a power level disadvantage. Natsu just didn't gauge his opponent properly and then, go in at an appropriate level. Natsu could have went in as he's doing now, because Natsu really didn't get much stronger throughout the time. he obviously, like, you got a fair boost in Elentier, but at the same time, what he's doing is something that he already could do. He's just using two abilities differently. He's just using his Dragon Force defensively and then using Fire Dragon King mode as like a flash offensive, that type of thing. Like he's pretty much developed a quick draw style. And when you look at that versus like the other characters that are getting like full new abilities and power-ups and like different kind of combos and how they fight, Natsu's only thing about his power that we've seen was after the part in Elmina where he was at the strongest we'd ever seen him, but he had no control, and he seemed really bothered by it, the fact that he wasn't aware of his own actions. Because we know that Natsu's all about kind of like, you know, people's own choice and like the way that like life goes, and how like there's that huge thing about free will and people's own kind of like way that they live their lives, and like seeing that kind of really kind of bother him. And honestly, like, it kind of goes down the pathway of Acnologia too that I think you might have noticed. I really want to get like to a Beta Heaven part where he talks to Acnologia. I mean, that's one of those fan fiction things that logically will happen, and I can't wait for the day, like, especially if it was mentioned, like, just hinted. I need that. I need that conversation, because it will be his actual personality. It will be spot on. Should be spot on Acnologia's personality. And at that point, like, they will have probably one of the most interesting conversations in the series. Especially, like, if Mishima really does want to kind of go down this path in story writing of having him kind of be a parallel of Acnologia in, like, this dude who's becoming a monster, who initially wanted good and to do good things and just kind of live life, just kind of went down this pathway of losing himself and becoming what he, you know, fought against the whole time. And, you know, I could see it happening. Like, there's the groundwork for it. There's also the Ignia stuff, but, like, all of Natsu's stuff has been on either the personal stuff with Ignia or his power level issue during that fight. So we'll see how that goes. Let me see what else is going on. I want to see Urza lose, but win to lose ratio makes it questionable. Well, Urza has almost as many losses as she does wins against, like, actual named characters. If you go throughout the series, like, actual characters with somewhat value. I did a video on it. Like, she's had some different, you know, she's had a couple fights since then. Obviously, you got to take into account recent stuff, but she actually has a fair amount of losses throughout the series. I'm kind of hoping that it's one of those things where it gets interrupted, kind of like Kirin and Laxus, but it gets further into the fight. Like, imagine it's Urza Nightwalker and Urza Scarlet, and it's right before they use their trump cards. It's like right before they're gonna kind of like go into that all-in moment, and then it gets interrupted. And so they get separated, and one of the things about Urza is Urza's large arsenal is obviously a big thing. So Urza would be able to come into the fight smarter, and I think Misaki would be able to, like, we don't know how Misaki's abilities work in full, but Misaki would have the advantage going into that fight of being able to enter the fight more seriously. Because one thing about this first cut is Misaki, I can guarantee you Misaki is not even using like a quarter of her strength. And she definitely got in a situation where she was underestimating Urza, and she got damaged for it. How much damage, we don't know, but that's still a good amount of damage that she's going to take. And there's another factor that we don't know. Is she going to take the damage effect of, you know, how long they were in that dimension? Is she going to take the 24-hour damage? Like, that's such a weird question, because logically she could take the effect, because is it a ruled dimension? But she's a dragon slayer, so like she also could be completely immune to her own abilities and stuff. That's a big weird thing about it. But like, Dragon Eaters are odd in general, so we don't even know like if it's gonna fully apply to her or not. It's a weird situation. I imagine no, so we'll see. But I mean, Urza's still getting a good cut on her. I assume will be a good, like, I assume it'll be one of those ones where you get physical damage. Like, she's not gonna be damaged enough, like she can't move her arms, but it's probably going to be drawn blood, I would assume. Like, I figured we're going to probably see, like, some cuts. And it's not going to be too bad, but I mean, like, still drawing blood on your arms, especially for a melee fighter, can still be pretty good. Unless she's going to do something to stop the bleeding. Like, I assume that first cut is going to be a fair edge in the fight. So Misaki coming back into it, being ready to fight regularly, like actually ready to fight Urza and fight her respectively, is I think the problem that she had is she should have, once she did, you know, she tried to pretty much kill Urza twice. She tried to, like, rip apart her body, and then she tried to just cut off her head, but all that did was break her armor and cut her hair. So Urza's physical durability and magical level is clearly much above what Misaki was expecting. So Misaki underestimated her. Misaki at that point should have just been like, I should probably take her a little bit more seriously. Maybe that was why she started to actually use her blue dimension. So I can kind of look at her and say like that. But I mean, she should have expected more from Urza the second she stood up. And it's actually, I mean, maybe she's never ran into somebody with requip armor as well. So maybe she doesn't know, like, this person can have an insane amount of just general utility to their abilities. So maybe, I mean, that's something that you could say, because it's not like requip fighters are common. Requip as a magic is common, but we've only seen a handful of people who use requip in combat. Okay, the chapter's in about 4 minutes. So I'm going to get caught up with the chat, and then I'm going to, like I said, I'm not going to read the chat until after I finish the chapter. And then we'll talk about, you know, I'll talk about my general thoughts, and then I will start getting back to the chat. Also, what's up, bud? How are you doing? Brax, I have a question. Who in the Guild and Fairy Tale be able to give the top 3 members a good fight? Wait, what? What do you mean? Who in the guild would be able to give the top 3 members? Top 3 members of what? Of the same guild? I need you to clarify, like, who in the guild is fighting who? 5th gen have weird attributes. Well, the thing about, like, 5th gen is, yeah, they're all, like, the off dragons that, like, aren't in the conventional elements. And I've always really liked that about them, because it just adds an extra flair to their generation of dragons, is they just have these very strange types. They don't have the crazy elemental ones that have got all these conventional powers. They, you know, you got people like Nibaru, who's got pretty much a spider dragon. I really wish he looked more like a spider in his form. Maybe his full dragon looked more like it. He would grow, like, more legs. I don't know. Blue Dimension would be so OP in Jujutsu Kaisen when you think. I mean, yeah, it's OP ability in any series. Like, the second, like, especially because she can, it's not just 5 seconds, she can up the time. And then you can't move. Like, that's just a really dangerous ability, like, in general. Fire, Wind, Iron, yeah, just naming them off. I know there's a lot of really cool ones. What are you saying is fake? I hear my cat's doing stuff out in the other room. Most of my pets are in here sleeping. I don't know which one it is. Haku eating white magic. Well, Haku's is not white. Like, his element, his attribute rather, is not white tiger dragon. Like, his is some form of weird thing with yarn. None of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights have had the same attribute as their title. Suzaku's the Vermilion Dragon, but his dragon slaying magic is Sword Saint. Like, it's not the same thing. And then, Kirin is the Yellow Dragon, but his magic controls the atmosphere. Considering how her ability works, and Misaki was to break all of Urza's winged armors. Oh, I don't know, because she's moving the armor and, like, everything, essentially. She's pretty much using herself as a marionetting herself to fight. It's really smart. And she's done that before, to a degree. She's done that with her swords, but now she's doing it with her armor to pretty much move her body without having to physically move her body. Where did you find these spoilers? The spoilers aren't out yet. The chapter will be out in about 1 minute. I assume they mean Gildarts, Laxus, and Urza. Oh yeah, I mean, you're talking about the strongest 3 members are Natsu, Laxus, and Gildarts. Urza's close, but I mean, Laxus is obviously still at that edge, whereas, you know, no one's going to argue Gildarts and Natsu. above, stronger than anybody else, rather. I thought about Lucifer in the Book of Eden, you could make it appear that Natsu merged with Lucy's danger. I mean, I'm pretty sure the link just went through. I mean, I feel like that just needs to be revealed, but like we need to get to a point where it's going to be revealed. Okay, so the chapter should be out. Let me go find the chapter, and I will read and see what's going on with 100 Years Quest this week. Okay, so let's go. 105. The little thumbnail is a picture of Misaki. All right, let's see what the cover is. It's a fan service one. Oh, people are gonna have fun coloring this. It's obviously an Urza one, and she is pretty much getting her hair washed by Wendy, and Juvia is looking over at her. I'm looking in the background for any other Easter eggs and references. So Urza's got the cut on Misaki. I'm looking to see if there's any damage, like good physical damage. Oh, she's got a follow-up attack. She's immediately summoning more swords. And Misaki just kind of like, swipes her hand and breaks a bunch of them. Urza's still going. And Misaki's pretty much, she's manipulating Urza's swords. That makes sense. Like, probably not the best idea to use spatial attacks like that in a dimension where somebody is, in somebody else's dimension where they can freely manipulate it. It's not like, I assume Minerva, like if you took Minerva and put her at the same level as Urza, and, Urza tried the same thing, like, she could pretty much just manipulate, teleporting the swords or like that. Probably not the same high degree as Misaki, like, as a full dimension, but individually just grabbing the swords and moving around. Just something aligned that I could see happening. Okay, yeah, Urza's just kind of dodging her sword. She needs to not do the sword spam. Because that just makes sense. I'm glad Misaki can do that. That's just good that she's not just getting pressed immediately by, another spatial attack. Urza's getting pressed again. Oh, I think she's getting hit by another effect. There's like a panel where Urza is in broken armor, and her armor's broken up, and she's just pretty much got the dress part and then part of her metal bra, and there's a lot of those these weird wispy black line effects, and I don't really know. I don't think see what it does, but I think Misaki is explaining it. Urza then goes into her Sea Empress armor, goes for another attack, but it looks like Misaki blocks it. It looks like she blocks it and goes for another. Oh, she's doing something else. What is she doing? She's like making this big weird white wave come at her. It's such a weird looking attack. Oh, it looks really cool coming off Misaki's hand. I think she explains what kind of Dragon Slayer she is. Hang on, let me see. It just, to me, it looks similar. It gives off the similar vibe as the panel when Suzaku explains his. It feels so much like I'm gonna just tell you what the basis of my power is, like my Dragon Slaying attribute. 1 second, let me pull up. I'll just do Google Translate and I'll just pull up a picture real quick before we keep going. This is important. It's important we find this out in real time. Let me see. Hang on. I know for a fact how to make Google Translate work better, but I have to send it send it real quick to my computer. I was trying to do. I don't know why it does that. What's weird is it'll scan a picture, and it won't read it entirely. But if I just put it on my computer and then scan it like in fucking MS Paint, for some reason it's okay with it. And I've always thought that was just really stupid, but conveniently it works most of the time. Yeah, I'll get back to the chapter in 1 second. Luckily, there's still a lot to talk about. I kind of hope that the fight is going to stop here. I'm kind of hoping that it's going to, Urza's going to take an effect, but she's going to get back up, or their fight's going to get interrupted, or maybe Urza will get into her Nakagami armor and cut her way out and take, a tactical retreat. I want it to be a way that, Urza has a chance for a rematch. Because the thing is, Misaki clearly is fine killing her. Misaki, logically, I assume, would go for the finish, because she opened twice trying to execute Urza. So why would she not try and kill her afterwards? So I need to get her into a spot where Urza can get away and maybe plan for another fight, or maybe work to get stronger. Like, there's definitely stuff that they could do to, like, Urza's like an odd way, because Urza doesn't have something like Gray can get more devil, like, advance his devil side. Gonjil and Laxus can get Dragon Force. Lucy has new Star Dresses and stuff. I mean, I think Urza can just do combo things. The big thing that I would really like to see with Urza is, because it seems that she can do basic enchants into weapons, like Wendy taught her, so can she enchant Grand Chariot into a sword? Question mark. I need to know that pretty badly. But hey, let me see if I can get anything better out of this panel real quick. One second. I think she said this is like a rough translation. It was like, oh no, I think she's just saying her title real quick. I think she's just saying she's Misaki of the Black Dragon Slayer Knights. Let me see. Oh my god, I'm somehow fumbling just pressing buttons today too. Oh, she's saying right now. She's saying she's only used this ability when she's fought Kieran. So this is like her getting more serious. Okay. So this is her real ability, I would assume. This is like her upper thing. There was like a thing when she was talking about herself, and I don't know if that's just what she's like saying in her title. It was something about like illuminous, but I think like being illuminated, but I think that was just like the translation was something about like dark, or some with the title of the Dark Dragon Slayer. So let me get back to the chapter and see what goes on. I was really hoping to find out what the hell what her type was. But she gets Urza, like she pretty much does this big white slash, and like how does this work? Like she's going for frontal attacks but getting hit by things just in the back. Is it teleporting? Do they just move freely? She's like made chains on Urza. Okay, Urza's not looking good. She's getting pressed right now. And then she has another effect. This is even weirder. She has like a weird water effect. This is cool. It's like a water paint, like a pastel or something. It's just like around her hand. It looks really cool. It actually kind of looks like something from like the art style. It looks kind of like how Nakaba kind of draws explosions a little bit, and kind of draws like weird watery and lighting effects. I like that a lot. So that's a digital effect. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's a digital artifact. Because I know they do to my knowledge, they do everything digital. So that's really cool. I like it when they use like cool effect things to do abilities in manga art. It always just is really cool too. That's just looks really neat, because I don't think anybody else in the series has an ability, energy, or anything that's drawn like this. Okay, at least it's a named attack. How does this work? She makes Urza summons a shield, so she can still do something. Hold on a second. I gotta yell my dog. My dog's bothering a cat. Anyway, I had to yell at this dog. Okay, she's got in her Armdur fairy armor. We haven't seen that in forever. So, okay, that makes sense if she's able to cut the chains with that. So she started to use her better abilities. I want to know exactly like what it does. But yeah, Urza using this because this is one of Urza's best armors. Like what's better than her Armdur fairy armor? She you can count her Clear Heart armor and Benny Zakura, because that's obviously a high offense pretty much all an attack thing. And you can count Nakagami. Does Urza have any other that are just outright better that we know are just outright better? I'm forgetting. I think those are it. We haven't seen Armed Fairy since what? Tartaros, I think? But yeah, so Urza being able to do it, we're starting to get into Urza's stronger stuff. Oh, she's doing something additional. She's like doing some freaking Dark Souls spell enchanting. Yes. I was hoping she would do this. This is pretty sick. Urza's now becoming a Shonen Dark Souls character. I am a fan of this. I am a huge fan of this, actually. Hold on. I need to make a post about this. Let me throw this out there. Mishima has been, I can tell you Mishima has been playing a lot of Elden Ring. I am very happy about this. This is something I've been really wanting Urza to do, is just generally enchant her swords. She doesn't have to have Wendy level enchantments, but just her being able to do that as a swordswoman is such a huge plus. 1 second. Oh my god, hang on. I gotta yell at this dog. Alright, let me get this dog handled, and then I will get back. Okay, never mind. It seems to have absolved itself. The small dog just really wants... both my dogs just really want to be friends with my cats, but haven't learned that befriending a cat is different than befriending a dog. One sec. Okay, so back to the chapter. So yes, this is Urza's getting into her upper arsenal. Misaki's getting to her upper arsenal. Urza only has a couple things, really, I would imagine, left to her knowledge. Because her things mostly... like, she hasn't really gotten any new big armors in 100 Years Quest. I don't think she really needs to, because her other armors all have their own thing. Her Clear Heart is all offense. You know, offense and speed. Armed Fairy is pretty much her well-rounded, kind of like, full-power armor. And Nakagami is her pretty much anti-magic armor. It's her, you know... I can pretty much hacks against the Hex character to just shut him down. You know, if they use magic. Her other ones are all more situational and more kind of like her trying to counter and gain an advantage. Whereas, I assume this is Misaki's... I don't think this is Misaki's last ability. I think Misaki's definitely got more than this. But this seems to be like where she starts to, you know, fight with more of her effort and more of her, you know, her strength. Oh, there's another weird thing going on. Hang on. There's like, what is this? There's like, it looks like part of like something, you know, it's happening to her dimension, but it's like you zoom in and there's like a grid. What the fuck is Urza's thing doing? Maybe her power in the attack is just messing with the dimension, so she's probably charged a ton of power into this. So Urza goes for like a really big attack. Misaki, oh, that's pretty sick looking. Is it a Grand Chariot attack? Let me see this too. Tell me this is a Grand Chariot attack. Come on. I've been asking about this. I've been asking for this for a while. Because that's like Urza's logical and ultimate attack right now. That was to me the most logical thing she could have done. Oh yeah, I see the word meteor, but she calls it, it's like, I think it's like Fairy Sword Meteor or something, or Fairy Meteor Sword. I need to know. Let me see real quick what she said when she enchanted her sword. Let me see exactly what this says. And obviously, like, somebody who's better at translating will get to this later than me. Yeah, she's saying celestial magic, so she is using Jalal's magic. Fantastic. I was so happy I was right about that. The magic she learned from it. So that's got to be Grand Chariot or Meteor. So she's just being smart about it. Oh, Misaki is terribly damaged. It's not shown if she's defeated, but she definitely looks really hurt. I know people are gonna say that Misaki's defeated over the next 2 weeks. I don't know. I can't say. But it's drawn in a setup that I don't think Urza ended it. because we don't really, with like Misaki's face is drawn with like a big shadow around her eyes, and they're still in her dimension. So I'm so confused. Like, this is gonna be one of those chapters. I'm gonna have to wait to really kind of build like a general opinion on it, because like Urza winning is fine for me, but like Urza just jumping that gap would be kind of crazy. But at the same time, is like Misaki gonna be done already? Like, I don't think so. Like, it'd be really weird, because then it's like, well, what's the plan for Misaki's character? Like, that's to me the bigger question mark here. So I don't think Misaki is done. I think Misaki's gonna be pissed off, because Misaki doesn't really look too damaged. She looks like her clothes are damaged, and she's got like some damage marks, but we don't see her eyes. Her hair looks relatively fine. She still has a lot of her, like, her clothing looks fine, and we know for a fact this is a series where we know clothing damage is a thing, and we know that when females take considerable damage to the point where they're gonna be done, their clothes are destroyed. I'm gonna just go with that as my defense that Misaki will get up, because her clothes are fine. She's not done. If her clothes are fine, she's gonna get back on her damn feet. Like, this would be the weirdest character if Mishima not only randomly decided to throw her away and jump Urza to this level, but also not do any fan service with this super hot looking, like, built like a monster Dragon Slayer chick. That's not happening. That's not gonna happen. I doubt that so much. Like, Mishima has even done times where he's had like the dudes get joked and like put in fan service spots where they've been when they've been defeated. So I don't think that's the end. I know that for a fact there's gonna be people that are gonna be like, Urza won, like Misaki is trash. They're gonna do that in the next 2 weeks. If the next chapter, like, we get to the next chapter and Misaki is done, I'm gonna just be like, well, yeah, I guess that sucked. But I mean, I can't really say that right now. Because like, it would be so weird, because Mishima's done a real good job with the other Dragon Slayer Knights, and we just had a really good fight with Lucy and Kiria. So like, it'd be so weird to have Misaki just kind of be done. I don't think Misaki's done. I don't think it would make sense to just get rid of her. I don't think it would work, especially after he just gave her like these like really unique looking attacks. Like, this is Urza's opponent for this arc. Like, is it done already, and it's only going to be an opponent that Urza has like a personal grudge over? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, it's going to be an apparent conversation. I'm probably just going to brush over for it for 2 weeks. If we get to the next chapter, Misaki's done, and that's it for her character, then it's like, yeah, then I guess they're right, that sucks. But until that happens, I kind of just gotta sit. Because it's not one of those ones where, like, a character is fully defeated. It's like, because, like, Misaki, like, it's so weird, because, like, we don't have any investment for her, like, whatsoever. So if she's just defeated, then like, she's just gone. I don't know. Maybe, like, is she gonna be the mid of the Dragon Slayers? I don't think so. I hope not, at least. Because, like, none of the other members of Diablos would have gotten this bad treatment. And I don't think so. Like, on top of that, Mishima is always, he's really nice to female characters, especially the really powerful female characters he gives a lot of attention to. So, like, when you combine all these things logically in the setup, and Misaki's still got her dimension going. On top of that, we don't see anything really to indicate that she is defeated. We just see that she got hit by the attack. On top of that, clothes are fine. I think she'll be fine. Again, this is me just kind of going off of what I believe. I could be wrong in the next chapter, and she could be KO'd. We will have to just kind of wait and see. But as of right now, I was happy to call the whole Grand Chariot Sword. Fantastic on that one. So let me see. Let me get to the chapter. Let me get to the chat, rather, on the chat. And then I'll look through the Eden Zero chapter, and I'll look for the Four Knights chapter real quick, and before we end the stream. Urza's eye can protect her from illusion magic, but it can't help in other ways. It's pretty much like any magic that goes through your eyes that's ocular based is cut in half, because it doesn't work on one of Urza's eyes, and if she only is looking with that one eye, it doesn't work at all. because it's an artificial eye. It's pretty much anything that has to go through the eye does not work on that one. I was going through chapter 105. Let me see what's going on here. Greatest Devil form needs something. My favorite character. Yeah, he really needs to get like a horn. I really want like a sick horn. The chapter? What chapter's out? It just came out. You dislike me? What are you talking about? I've said before what time it comes out. Go fuck yourself. Like, I even said multiple times when the chapter's coming out. Eat shit, dude. How about you actually just ask instead of being a little bitch? Yeah, I'm making up stuff. Did I make up the chapter coming out when I said, yeah, it's coming out in 20 minutes? The one I always say what time it's coming out whenever I'm asked. Yeah, it's going to come out at this time. I even made a comment on Twitter 2 hours ago to say, hey, the chapter's coming out in 2 hours. I started the stream saying, hey, the chapter's going to be out in what, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, even said 1 minute. Eat shit. Yeah, live reaction not showing the product. It's because I'm not going to show the whole fucking chapter. I'm literally looking at the raws. I'm looking at the raw live chapter. And I've consistently not shown the whole chapter at all. I've never at any point streamed just showing you a full chapter of the series because I'm not going to do that. You can go buy the chapter. I will give information. I will give you some context of what happens. I will show some panels maybe. But I'm not going to show you the full chapter. You can go buy it. Or you can wait. I'm doing something nice. I'm not even asking for money. I'm literally just like, the only thing you have to do is sit there and ask a question in the chat. Hey, I have a question. Or you could rewind the fucking stream. You can also say, hey, what's going on? When is the chapter coming out? Somebody will reply to you. I hate people who are just so stupid in their own head that they can't even figure out what's going on in a situation of, oh, there's like 20-something minutes of video going on. I guess I'm just gonna ask a question, not get an answer, and then form my own thing all within 30 seconds. Fucking idiot. I've never seen someone live stream manga showing the panels. It's basically showing Manga's work. Yeah, you don't show the whole thing. Like, I still support the official release. I've never just given people the whole chapter. There's like a protector eyes from illusion magic, but I already read that one. Or it's linked to the raws. You have to either wait for somebody else to post the link, or you have to get the chapter off the app. Like it's like 80 cents. It's like 80 cents every 2 weeks. See when English sub comes out. Well, that's a fan translation. They still don't have a simul release for English yet. I know they're working on it, but otherwise it's going to be the fan translation, which will be out probably either today or tomorrow. It just depends. I know those guys are going to be on whatever their schedule is. There's not a lot of dialogue in this chapter, so I feel like it could be out today. It's just going to depend. Yeah, so Misaki, I feel like Misaki will be fine. I feel like she'll get up. It's like the Lucifaro thing. Like, I joke with Lucifaro, but I know he's going to get back up. He should logically get back up. Kaido, I know Kaido's going to get back up next chapter too, but the problem with, more of the worry rather with Kaido is the fact that Kaido is already on the way out, and the main character just got, like, his fucking Super Saiyan 1. Like, he just got Dragon Force in full. Like, he got the main character's main character power at its maximum, pretty much. He doesn't have full control over it, but anytime Luffy is in 5th gear, Kaido is pretty much going to be getting pressed. So, Kaido, and on top of that, like, all of the other bad guys are defeated, so the arc is edging, I would imagine, to the end. So, that fight, I assume, is coming to a close. Whereas, like, Lucifaro, I don't think is over, and Misaki, I think by the setup and what we've seen logically and consistently, not only in this arc but also with the other Dragon Eaters, is Misaki won't be done. Especially after, again, a panel where it's so small viewed and it's way more focused on Urza kind of like being after the attack, that I don't think Misaki will be able to I don't think she'll be done. My guess maybe is like, if she's affected by, like, imagine this. Urza just used like all of her magic. She's damaged. She's heavily damaged and she's out of magic. Imagine this. She's pretty much done. And she also obviously took damage inside of here. But so did Misaki. Maybe Misaki, like, imagine Misaki back to her, back to being okay enough to fight, but the dimension ends because the 24-second ends. Then they both take the damage, and that's when Sculling on a Mad Mole have to show up, because logically Gray and Gajo would be there and would be able just to, they would pretty much be able to, if they wanted to, like, tie up Misaki or something or prevent her from doing anything. But I think that at that point we could have a cool draw. I think that would actually be the best thing for it. Whereas you have Urza, who was able to become a bit stronger because she was able to, create a new technique logically that was in her arsenal that made sense. And Misaki, who is strong, but definitely underestimated her opponent. And you can get screwed even when you're stronger by, continuously not being aware of your opponent may be weaker, but there are still ways that they can get around that power gap with their abilities. And Urza's level of utility, and then like combining her power and freaking assume Grand Chariot, from her, at least from what we know, unless she would use Meteor, but like, why would you use Meteor over Grand Chariot? That just makes sense, especially after it was shown as like a big power attack and not a speed-based attack. Let me see. Yeah, when she leaves, like, it's gonna depend on what we see, because I think the best case scenario for both of them, from any standpoint, is Misaki and Urza have a draw. I think Misaki and Urza having a draw is like the best way that like this can kind of like go out, and then they have a rematch, because we know Natsu and Suzaku were about equal. I would hope that Haku and Wendy, if they actually, like, Haku fought seriously. Wendy had her, like, unlocked her, did the whole latent potential, actually gained all of that power that she has, that she doesn't know she has, like, actually in her body and stuff. Gains that full power. I imagine they would be about equal. Kieran and Laxus is different, because we know it, like, that Laxus was already, at that edge. And when you see Kieran was stronger than the other Dark Dragon Slayer Knights, it makes sense that he is a notch above Laxus. So even though there's a gap, there's still enough room that Laxus has a chance to gain some ground and maybe pull out a win in another match. And I think with Suzaku and Natsu having a team-up thing, because I think them being friends, I think Natsu and Suzaku being like rival friends makes sense way more than having like an enemy rival. And I think that's what Misaki and Urza should be. Because that's what Kiria and Lucy was to a degree, but it was more of Lucy having like a big power moment in showing like more of her strength and capabilities. Because like Urza being able to defeat a Dragon Slayer is one thing. Like, it's something believable. It just comes down to the power levels and stuff and how she wins. Lucy being able to defeat a Dragon Slayer is a big deal. Like, unless Urza, like, Lucy was way more powerful, like, a Dragon Slayer is like the worst matchup enemy for a summoner, like a Celestial Spirit Wizard. But Lucy's she's earned her durability the old-fashioned way, and she's a smart fighter. Misaki's arguably stronger given her powers compared to Laxus. I mean, the gap, understandably, between Misaki and Urza is Laxus and Gildarts. It's within, it's like looking at, when you look at where they were at with Gildarts, and then obviously, like, Wall and Laxus. That's kind of hard, because Laxus was hindered part of the fight, so it's like we really saw Laxus in a full match with Urza, but we haven't seen anything from Gildarts in a long time, so it's like we don't know entirely Gildarts in his current status. I assume Gildarts would get stronger after his fight with August. That just makes sense in Gildarts' character. I mean, Lucy went from jobbing to Kiria to beating Kiria. I mean, yeah, she was she did good. I really liked that fight. Suzaku smashed Natsu back, and Natsu frustrated intervened. I mean, they're pretty much. I would assume that Natsu would be able to win that fight. Like, my belief was always that Natsu had the overall edge with Dragon Force and Purgatory slashing Dragonfire, but Suzaku had a wider spread edge because he doesn't need to have, amp forms to use that level of power. Natsu's are through forms that he has. Like, his base form is only so much, whereas Suzaku, everything pretty much is in Suzaku's base form, because we know that the Dragoners they're not going to just use Dragon Force as easily as Natsu can. Natsu can just go in and out of it, whereas they use it as pretty much a last in, like, I have to take you out even at the cost of my life thing. Misaki equals Laxus. I could see that. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, that would make perfect sense because we know where Urza was with Laxus. So Misaki being around that level and being somebody that Urza can fight, but isn't crazy out of range. Again, I like. So Misaki's gonna be in that boat though. She's with Kaido and Lucifara right now. She's in the cliffhanger of I'm probably not done, but I definitely just took a big smack. When your base form is equal to her using 1% of Belsarian's power. Well, she was using 1% of the power, but that was still a buff form. I mean, that just means that version of, like, Nimaru, was, less than 1/100th of Irene. A Spriggan level character was 1/100th of Irene. Just keep that in mind. Of human form Irene. Keep that in mind as well. Not Dragon Irene. Not the full dragon. Yes, I want to see the translation attacks. I'm very hyped for that. Suzaku didn't go all out either. Natsu did. Suzaku went all out. Suzaku used his strongest attack. Natsu didn't. And when we saw Natsu tank Suzaku's strongest attack, it's like, yeah, he's got that. Slashing attack, he can tank it. We don't know whatsoever if Suzaku is going to be able to take a Purgatory slashing Dragonfire in Dragon Force to the stomach. He might die. I don't even, if he doesn't die, I think he's done. I think he will be defeated. I would be really impressed if Suzaku tanked it. I don't think he can, but if he did, if I had to guess, I would say 2/3 no, 1/3 yes. That's pretty much my stance on the odds of Suzaku could tank it. I would definitely lean way more towards no, but if he did, it wouldn't. I'd be surprised, but not super surprised. Laxus lost Kieran because Kieran out-acts him. Well, no, Kieran's just stronger. Kieran's clearly just stronger. He was literally just bopping him around with his coffin. In this arc, no one really had a serious fight besides Lucy. Well, no one's had a setup for their big fight. You have to look at it like that. When you look at an arc from a story standpoint, Mishima probably looked at this arc, just thinking about it, and said, the way that everybody's matched up with a one-on-one, everybody's gonna get one big fight. Lucy got hers first because I think Lucy's logically made sense first. Because Kiria is. I would say Kiria and Madmol are the weakest of the Dragon Eaters. Madmol and Gaja will be a different kind of fight if that happens. But I think with Kiria and Lucy it made sense because that was a really good fight opening into it because it had more, there was more backing to it than, whereas Gajil versus Madmol can happen now and fit way better into the story to where if we opened with Madmol versus Gajil, that would just be more of starting at the lowest level, almost insulting, I think, to Gajil. Whereas with Lucy, I think it did really good because Lucy versus Kiria is one of those fights where, when you look at Madmol versus Gajil, I think a lot of people would say Gajil could win that, whereas Lucy versus Kiria for a long time, I don't think a lot of people believe that she could win. I knew she could win when we got when she beat Mimi. When she beat Mimi, I was like, I think she's got this, and I've got receipts for that. Saki's gonna go all blood less next year. Yeah, I think she's gonna be pissed. I like the way that she looks in that panel and how little space she shows, and just the way that's formatted does not look like she's defeated. I feel like that's just karma though for me making jokes about Kaido and Lucifaro getting smacked, because I don't think either of them are done. I think both of them are going to be on their feet next chapter. Like, this dog was so sad that she wants to talk to Tartaros, but he does not want to talk to her. Stop, you're fine. He doesn't want to play with you right now. Urza should have mid-difficult Guild Arts level opponent? No. She's not mid-diffing him. Like, for one, I don't think Misaki's done. But even if you looked at this fight, and, like, from the idea, say, like, Misaki lost. This is Urza's strongest attack. This is the strongest attack Urza's ever shown. Whatsoever. This is her strongest, this is her overall strongest armor. Because again, Urza's best 3 armors, Nakagami, which is more of a anti-hacks wizard armor. This is something that she pretty much uses if the problem isn't a power level thing or a combat thing. It's more of, this person has a really hacks magic that I have to get around. Look at the 2 fights she's primarily won. You have Minerva, who was just teleporting her around and smacking her because somebody who's just annoying to fight against, and Agil, who was intangible and could turn swords into sand. Urza didn't use it against Kyoka. Like, it's not a she didn't use it against Irene. It's not the same kind of fight. Whereas Armdura Fairy is her best overall armor. This is Urza's pretty much safest, best armor. Because the other one is situational, depends on her opponent, and it takes a lot of magic. It takes the most magic to use. And her Clear Heart armor is ditching to all other forms of magic amping outside of attack power and speed. It's an all-in attack one. And it wouldn't let her move here. Whereas I wonder how that would work, because she, would be able to, I assume, still manipulate the cloth, but with the armor, it's kind of different, I assume. The thing is, like, I don't think the only person right now I feel like would go into Dragon Force, I think, would be Scullion. But it would really depend. I just have this feeling that Scullion would do it. If she's defeated her dimension when it collapses. Yeah, there's definitely a couple things that makes me say, like, it doesn't feel like they're actually defeated. It's one of those ones where she, it just was made to, hype up Urza, which I get. Cool. I'm very happy about that. But I don't think it would make sense if she lost here. Because with Haku, I was hoping Haku would get up, but I think with the context, obviously, of it being more on Wendy's untapped potential and Wendy's whole setup with Haku not fighting as serious because he pretty much wanted her to surrender so he could go on a date with her. So it was done in a way that was even though I was hoping that the fight would continue, I was yeah, I could see that kind of going out that way because he again wasn't using his full power. Whereas Misaki, if Misaki ends here, what does that really do for her character? What does that really do? Because we know that she's been wanting to kill Urza. She's been wanting to end her. It would be such a waste for her design because I don't know what Mishima would really have planned if it's Urza, or if Urza just outright beats her. What would the point of Misaki's character be if she's just gonna lose? What avenue is he gonna take her as a character if she the first time that she really gets into a fight she loses? I don't think that's gonna happen because I think it would look really bad on her too if she cut Urza's hair and was trying to and was underestimated her, then immediately loses. Whereas I think if they get separated in the next chapter and stuff and they get a rematch and there's some kind of build up tension for a full fair fight, I think that'll be way better. We'll see. I already know. When stuff like this happens, I know there's gonna be the 2 weeks of the people making that no thinking assumption, none of the context involved, and you're just oh, Misaki's done. I get that. I know there's gonna be people that do that. I'm always aware when chapters happen like that they're just gonna assume they're done. We've had a multitude of chapters where that doesn't happen, especially against Dragon Slayers, because Dragon Slayers are tanks. They are literally the stamina and durability class of the series. So, we'll see. Because it would be so, funny to her to lose to Meteor Sword and then, or, Grand Chariot Sword, and then it's Natsu, tanked one back in. Not the same thing, obviously, power level difference, but she loses to something like that. from somebody that should be weaker than her. We'll see. I think Nakagami can cut magic in a dimension. I think she'd be able to cut her way out for sure. I think she'd be able to cut the attacks. But the thing about Nakagami is a draining thing. It's one of those things that just, it has a very large drain on what it can do, despite, you know, it's what it does. It pretty much is just one, like, anti-magic ability, pretty much just full dispelling and magic cutting. I can cut space, but, I mean, that's, like, an extra thing. Like, that is, I guess, that one extra thing it can do. But it has to do more with magic-wise. Do you think Misaki Dimension scales relative to... Oh, I don't want to talk about the weird solar system club. I'm not for it. Anyway, let me get to let me see the Eden Zero chapter real quick. I didn't even look at the Eden Zero, and I haven't looked at Four Knights yet. Where'd my phone go? Oh, my phone fell on the floor. That's sad. Okay, let me see. So the cover for the, look at the Four Knights one. It's Meliodas. It's got a question mark for the last person. The only thing I'm hoping in this fight, or not fight, this chapter, for Four Knights. This is the extra parts this is going to be the closer. I'm just going to go through Four Knights and Eden Zero spoilers for, you know, these chapters if you care about those. The only thing I care about this chapter for Four Knights is that we see what the fourth member looks like of the Four Knights. Excuse me, dogs. I'm doing my closer for this video. Hey. Okay. There's the Meliodas is just talking to people. The old king is still in bed. We see some groups split up. We got Tristan's group. We got you got these. This is an aggressive pet stream for some reason. We're just bothering my cats now. We got Tristan's group, Meliodas' group. Lancelot's just kind of solo right now. Again, there's another panel of Annie looking at that one Shion dude. Where the fuck? That guy's really odd. And I guess they explain this dude. He's in like a suit of armor. That's kind of cool. That's very Gowther-esque. And I'm just skimming through it. They're just looking around for him. I'm guessing they're gonna find him at the end of the chapter. Probably not show what he actually looks like. Yeah, they show a suit of armor. Looks really cool. It's like he's like sitting on a bench or she, I don't really know. In a really cool set of armor. I actually really like the helmet. It looks great. It's like got this no mouth faceplate. This is something that I've had a belief on for almost ever. I don't like it when armors have mouths on it. And even though like one of my favorite designs overall for this is an extra lore bit for Power Rangers is okay. I'm gonna yell at these dogs again, and then I'm gonna get ready to end this stream soon. This is a bad time. My dogs have I've let them kind of wander around more, kind of just out in the house. And we get better at it, but I was like, you know what? I'll just see if they'll be okay during the stream today. No, they won't be here for the next chapter. They can come out afterwards. Yeah, this guy's arm looks really cool. I don't like it when the mouths are on the helmets. I don't really like that. It's like I don't really like it. Like in any of the games, I very rarely use armors that have mouths or like that look like heads of animals or something. I'm not a fan of that personally. This one does not have a mouth. It has a really cool like sun design, really cool looking. There's then at the end of the chapter you see like two characters in capes. I'm guessing those are gonna be Chaos Knights or something. And then there's like a dude who's just kind of buff. I'm guessing he's a bad guy. Oh, I think that's this. There's a thing at the end. I think it's Guinevere. My guess. They're probably looking for Arthur's wife. I can't really tell where this chapter is going. There's like a lying cloud near one of them with Annie. I can't tell what's going on. It seems like a little more of a mystery chapter, kind of setting up some stuff. Okay, let me get to Eden Zero, and then we'll call it. I'll read some of the comments after I end the stream. But oh no, I think I saw a little bit of Eden Zero ones. It's just part of the fights, right? Just some of them kind of squaring up. Yeah, Wise versus Killer. I like Killer's side. I'm so worried about Clown. I don't mean it negatively towards Rebecca, but Rebecca doesn't usually have the most aggressive fights, and I really liked Clown. And he's gonna have like a goofier fighting style, but I was hoping he would have I'm really hoping he has like a cool fight. That's just what I'm saying. I'm hoping it's done in a serious manner. It doesn't have to be Lucy versus Kyria, but I'm just hoping that it's gonna be good. I just want it to be like a fight where I can look and it's not just kind of goofy. Where when Rebecca wins, when Rebecca wins, you can look at it like Clown was actually like a dangerous opponent and not just like a clown, literally. I don't want that. Shiki is getting like I think like illusioned by Wizard. I get like the thing that Wizard's the enemy for Shiki, and we're gonna have that set up. Oh, there's a cool robot mech. I'm guessing that's a witch mech for Holy. And Shiki was just getting messed around and tricked by Wizard, his weird digital illusions. So I feel like Shiki's gonna be fine. If this dude just does like illusions and he's got like basic elements, I think Shiki will do okay. Cause like if he's just supposed to be pretty much Witch had like a good ability, but it's not anything that crazy. When I mentioned it with Four Knights, when you had was it Burgie or whatever her name was? The chick that was in the group, oh God, what were they called? What were those dudes called again? Oh my God, I already forgot. Like the bad guys in the forest from literally like the last little arc with Fiddich or whatever his name is. The chick, she had the elemental staff that's like she just gets like she can use attacks from the 4 elements pretty much. Not a crazy thing, but it's good at that level. I feel like Shiki though obviously is much higher than that level, so I think Shiki will do fine. Like Wizard, I didn't really have too much stake in him, so I'm kind of like but one second. Yeah, so I would imagine that he's going to be fighting this. The other ones, I'm looking forward to Wizen Killer. I think Wizen Killer is going to be the most interesting fight, but I'm so worried about Clown. I'm super worried about Clown. Wizard, I'm just like, Shiki will do fine. Shiki's going to run over this guy, because Shiki is one of the Galactica. So Shiki should just completely just demolish him in a serious fight. Like, I feel like this is going to be one of those fights where it's like the second Shiki just starts to use overdrive, he's going to body him. The other ones I could see having some good fights, Wise versus Killer and whatever. I think they're going to be more of a tactic-based fight, and Homura is probably going to be more like a direct battle. And then I'm worried about Clown. I don't want him just to be like a gimmick fight. I want him to actually fight Misaki. I think Misaki or Suzaku. No, as far as we know, they're equal except for Kirin. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream, and I'm going to go see if there's any information out. Oh, you just looked at the Raws, yeah, and I don't know what your takes are, but if you believe that Misaki's gonna get up, you have to be ready to deal with people saying Misaki is not gonna get up. Cause she'll probably be fine next week. She'll probably be able to get back up on her feet and start moving again. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream, and I will talk to you guys later. Remember, I'm gonna get back to the normal Saturday streams and then Fairy Tail streams every other Tuesday. Don't be like that dipshit early in the stream who asks where the chapter is, and I'm like, hey, multiple times, hey, the chapter's gonna be X amount of time. Here's how I do my streams. I don't show stuff. I pick a panel. That's just for a backdrop. I'm here for talking. I'm not here to let you read the chapter illegally. That's not what I do. But anyway, other than that though.